So what are the topics that we would like to address? We will give you a status on the legislation of the electronic identity. Then we've had two presentations, one again on the electronic provisional driver's license, and the other one about the use of the electronic identity in the context of the electronic patient record. Here we can be rather brief, I would believe, and again, if there are questions, feel free to ask them. Andreas, since he will also talk, will not always answer also the chat simultaneously, but we will try to do our best, and obviously you can also ask questions by mic. So the first topic, the status of the eID legislation. Andreas, you wanted to say a few things, please.
So as we heard in the previous talk in the German and the French section, we had National Councillor André here, who explained what happened in the legal commission. So what happened actually in Switzerland, as some of you might know or not know, I always give a quick introduction. We have a two-chamber system in Parliament. The current status of the act is that it's being deliberated by Parliament for about a year now, Rolf, right?
Yes, yes.
And that works in a way where it goes from one chamber to the other chamber until all amendments have been resolved, when both chambers agree on the final act. And in summer it was in the Legal Commission and the Council of States, and now it's in the National Council again. And it was in the Legal Commission, and there were some amendments which were made. One is about the topic of open source. So open source is very dear to our heart, and also a big part of the political will regarding this future law. And there was a slight, let's call it, harshening or sharpening, making it more binding for the Confederation to publish the code of the solution as open source. Before it was unless, and now it's as soon as, basically. Sort of the translation, we can say. So as soon as that it's safe enough, or rights of third parties do not prohibit publishing the code as open source, the Confederation is bound to do that. That is the first thing. And the second thing summarizes also basically about open source. It's about the freedom to be able to choose which wallet you use. But that is to be understood in the context of the political will also wanting to be ensured that electronic identities are bound as hard as possible to the according human being. So it's about this
or the device.
Or the device, well, which we do by device binding at the moment. And there was also a precision there that during issuance, the respective office which is in charge of issuing digital identities has to issue to a person if they can technically ensure that this device binding is done. This, for instance, would be done with key attestation, and it's not so strongly focused on the software, the wallet in between, but actually the root of trust which the device can deliver from the hardware. And that's sort of a bit what was liberated in a sense with that amendment.
Yes, maybe to add to that, the proposal by the Council of States was that basically the wallet provided by the federal government is the only wallet that can be used for the electronic identity. And the intent now of the National Council is to open up this as soon as it is possible to make sure that the device binding is actually taking place. The wallet that is sort of between the crypto processor on my on my smartphone and myself is the wallet. And this wallet, the freedom of to choose different wallets shall be given to the people as soon as possible. Here again, the spirit of our project of the electronic identity comes to the surface, that we would like to provide you as much as possible freedom, as much as possible transparency and choice. Yeah. So that's basically what now the Commission for Legal Affairs in the National Council has been discussed. It's always a deliberation before it goes into the plenary, and we will now see how this will be sorted out between the National Council and the Council of States. The Member of Parliament, Gerhard André, expressed his hope, his wish, that actually this final deliberation and streamlining could even take place now in December in the so-called winter session, with a final vote by both chambers, which then would trigger the optional referendum period for the collection of signatures if somebody would like to veto this law. But that remains to be seen. Yes, so that is the main update that we can provide to you today on the legislation of the electronic identity. And with that, I would like to move on to the next topic.
I'll just jump in quickly.
Oh, please, sure.
With a question. There's a question in the chat if there will be limitations in place for people who use rooted Android devices. Because, for instance, certain apps, the eGov app already blocks the use of rooted devices. Do you want to jump in? Should I?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So, I mean, in principle, we expect that there will most likely be certain limitations. This is still something which needs to be further investigated during the next year before delivering the digital identity. But at the end of the day, as I'm sure you know, security is not a it's like a layer cake, we always say, and not one element is the aspect which defines the whole thing. But we need to trust in various actors. As with relying so strongly on mobile phones, we have to rely on the hardware which is put in place by the device manufacturer. We need to rely on the operating software which is installed by the device manufacturer and which is provided with regular security updates. And then we also need to have a certain assurance that the wallet uses these credentials and stores these credentials in a safe way. And if we look at it in that perspective, because we really want to protect the digital identity of the recipients as much as possible, it is realistic that there will be safeguards in place which could come into effect.
Yeah, in particular in the beginning, in order to not have too many attack vectors to manage. But again, the spirit is freedom, choice. Ideally, we would allow rooted smartphones as well. Maybe at a later stage, that has to be seen. It is definitely not something that we per se don't want to do, but we have to be careful and also use our resources in an efficient way. And obviously, I know certain nerds love rooted smartphones, but that is not a concern of a big chunk of the population. So we will see how fast we can move in that space. By talking about technology, I remember I actually jumped one slide.
Yeah.
I quickly go back because I think it's important also for you to know. So just big picture, Switzerland does not have yet an electronic identity, obviously. We even don't have a law as of now. But if everything goes smoothly, we plan to launch the productive electronic identity in 2026. And then obviously your question will be, but what standards are you going to use, what format, what protocol, and so on. And this is something that keeps us busy at the moment, almost day and not only day, but also night, because it is important for us and for the developers to know what to produce by 26. From a development point of view, obviously, that is tomorrow. But it's also important for the future ecosystem. If you want to become a issuer of other electronic credentials, or if you want to verify something as a verifier, you also have to know which technology to use. So it is very clear that this information has to get out as quickly as possible. You have here on the slide a print screen from the press release from this summer, where we touched already on that topic, stating that we are not yet ready, that we still have to do some additional analysis. And that is still underway. The statement in summer was that by the end of the year, the program, the Department of Justice and Police will inform the Federal Council by the end of this year, so in the next few weeks, on how we will move forward. No decision has been made as of yet. Otherwise, another press release would be available. We will make sure that you will get this information as soon as possible, but today I cannot tell you when that will be. Yes. So that was something that I wanted to add, and I jumped over. Now, to finalize, we have two presentations that have been made.
Yeah.
Let me quickly go. I was too fast. The first one was an update on the provisional driver's license. This has been a topic in the participation meeting before. Very briefly, we started a pilot project, meaning with productive data, with real people, in one of the smallest cantons, the canton of Appenzell-Ausserrhoden, this spring. By now, we have issued a bit more than 1,000 provisional driver license credentials. About 1,400 wallets have been downloaded. There have been really a very small number of support cases and other issues. So overall, I would say really smooth sailing, a very good experience. We have learned a lot, and it allows us to prepare us for 26. The biggest news in that context actually is that already in September, in this small canton, additional categories of different vehicles have been added. And next year, we will actually expand this pilot project over all Switzerland. So we expect by the end of the year that about 100,000 people will actually be eligible and hopefully also using the electronic provisional driver's license. The initial rollout will be end of first quarter, beginning of second quarter, and then we will go more or less canton by canton. So that is on the electronic provisional driver's license. And the last presentation was on the use of the electronic identity in the context of the electronic patient record. The electronic patient record is a other IT project by the federal government in collaboration with cantons and other actors that is already underway since a few years. Very simply put, this patient record, you can imagine it's like a box or a treasure box or something with your health data. And obviously the question is, how do you access this treasure box, and how can we make sure that only I access it, maybe my doctor also, or my wife, but otherwise this data obviously should be kept private and safe. And for that you need a login. And obviously there are a number of login possibilities available in this context. But now that soon we hopefully will have the electronic identity, the question is, well, can we not somehow use also the electronic identity to access treasure box of hopefully lots of data that state that I'm very healthy. Anyway, everybody or anybody who is slightly tech savvy knows that an electronic identity is not a login. So the question was, how can we address this issue to use the electronic identity as a means of identification and authentication, or means of accessing this health record? And here, basically what I can say is that initial talks and brainstorming has taken place. A concept has been found it seems that it's technically quite feasible. Still, it's work that has to be done. Until then, we are quite confident that some of these electronic health record providers then will be ready by the launch of the eID to integrate this whole thing. There is not much more to be said, I think, even particularly for international public. But if you have questions also on that topic, feel free. But I don't want to bore you too much with details on that topic. And having said that, we have come already more or less to a conclusion in terms of the content we wanted to provide to you. Now, maybe there are a few questions that we may address.
We got the one about the rooted devices already. Actually, there was an interesting one which was posed just at the end of the German part, but yes, I think it would be cool to take here, sure, as well. It's about the international interoperability, and especially specifically with which EU countries we are already in contact. Do you want to elaborate, or should I go?
Well, go ahead.
Okay, so I think when it comes to international interoperability, what's really important to differentiate is that there are two different layers which we need to address. There is obviously always the technical interoperability, which we can tackle more easily or less easily depending on which technology is used by which country. And then we have the judicial or the regulatory interoperability, and that's like a precondition to the technical interoperability. So on a technical level, we are obviously following closely what the European Union is doing as a whole with the eIDAS project, but we also have informal contacts with various countries, be that Italy, Germany, or also directly with people from the Commission. And then on the regulatory level, we need to pass the eID Act first, yes, before we can start tackling the interoperability. We also have limited resources, and it's also hard to go and negotiate legal interoperability on a potential law which might be in place in a year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's about it. I think we should wrap up for today.
Yes, if there are no other questions, then let's wrap up. I would like to end by inviting you to the next participation meeting. It has become a tradition to end the year not online, but in a hybrid fashion, and we will do that also this year. It will be on Friday, not on Thursday as usual, that we will meet for a whole day in Oberzollikofen, that is in the suburbs of Bern, at the Office of Information Technology and Telecommunication at the OFIT. And there we will discuss all matters eID with you, if you can, on place. How do you say that? Now I lost.
Yeah, in place, but also place. It's great that there's also a link, right?
Yes, but obviously the main plenary program will be streamed as usual. There will be certain sessions that will be organized in smaller groups, which will not be streamed, but the main topics you can also follow online if you live too far away to come to Switzerland. Yes, so please join us. If you would like to join us in Oberzollikofen, you need to register. we have sent the link to the registration with the newsletter today. The participation is free of charge, so don't hesitate in that context. The places are limited, so first come, first served, but I believe there are still a few places available. And otherwise, I would like to thank you for your attention. Sorry for having been a little bit late, but we tried to speed up the process, and wish you now a nice evening, and hope to see you either next month in Bern or again on online. Thank you and bye-bye.
Thanks so much.